coming in. Yeah, flex, I just wanna win. Yeah, LABB, who we running with. Yeah, 2233, I'm on 10 again.
Hey guys, this is Elo Speaks back again with another video. So this is going to be another video topic that I wanted to talk about, and this video topic will be called, was Conor McGregor bigger than the UFC? And short, simply to answer that question, yes, he was. At one point in time, Conor McGregor was seen as a mega superstar in the sports of MMA, and particularly in the UFC realm, he was the biggest and best athlete at that time. It's arguable because there were still no names that were still fighting, kind of like DJ, Daniel Cormier, John Jones, etc. So at the time that you want to argue when Conor McGregor was the best or bigger than the UFC, I would say starting around 2015. Yeah, 2015, I could say Conor McGregor was like the most talked about bandyhood athlete in the sport of MMA. There were other known figures at the time that were also being talked about as well, but Conor McGregor was the biggest name, biggest star. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Ronda Rousey was like a close second to Conor McGregor as one of the biggest athletes at that time to propel the sport of MMA into the mainstream, to get a whole bunch of people watching the sport. Well, yeah, it was definitely Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey. They were making headways where the way they were finishing opponents, they were braggadocious, demeanor, how they was impacting, mainstream media, all over social media. People were talking about them. People were excited to watch them fight. They were selling out arenas, making pay-per-view, exciting to watch, etc. And yes, I do agree that Conor McGregor was bigger than the UFC. To some degree, you could argue that Ronda Rousey was bigger than the UFC. But then, in that particular sport of MMA, and UFC is a really tough sport to dominate for a particularly long time. So for you to be a top MMA star, you have to be a great fighter, and you have to be entertaining inside and outside of the octagon. So yes, Conor McGregor was indeed exciting. From 2014, he was making headways with his trash talking and his braggadocious demeanor, and how he was introducing his interviews, trash talking, trying to get into his opponent's head, psychological warfare, etc. And it became really exciting, and people wanted to watch the post-fight and pre-fight interviews with him, because you don't know what he was going to say or do next. And in 2015, it just spurred out of control, where him and Aldo got into that fight, and when he knocked out Aldo, he basically sprung him into stardom, and he became a bright, shining star for the UFC for years to come. And then he basically peaked at the prime of his stardom when he became the first ever UFC double champ, winning 2 championships simultaneously in 2 different weight classes. So he became really, really big, to the point where people weren't just watching the UFC because of other fighters. They were watching the UFC just to see Conor McGregor, or some inklings of Conor McGregor during his stardom rise in the UFC rankings. Now granted, I'm a UFC fan where I like Conor McGregor. I think he's an exciting person, public figure. I don't think he's that great of a fighter, but he was entertaining nonetheless. I was entertained by his pre and post-fight interviews, because you just don't know what he's going to say next or how he's going to conduct himself. Always entertaining. He was an entertaining fighter, I'll give him that. A good striker, decent grappler, had no ground game, but he was a decent fighter nonetheless. And for him to be a double champ, the first ever double champ, I give him that respect. And that basically put him to stardom and helped him become where he was, where he was bigger, where he was in mainstream media for stuff outside of the UFC. He had his brand whiskey, his Burger King sponsorship deals. He was doing businesses otherwhere. He was, wearing chinchilla coats and driving fast, luxurious foreign cars, flying private jets through the United States and Ireland, back and forth, and showing that lifestyle, that luxury lifestyle. And he deserved it. He worked really hard for that particular lifestyle that he does, and all the sponsorship deals that he's getting, and he earned it to some degree. I'll take nothing away from him. So he was the biggest star in the UFC, and he did become bigger than the UFC, I think, to some degree, where he tried to own stock into the UFC as a sport. No fighter has ever done that before. And I don't think we're going to see another fighter on the star power of Conor McGregor for a while. We do have Izzy Adesanya, but he still is not on the level of the stardom that Conor McGregor was. Now, granted, there's a lot of factors in place. I do feel like Conor McGregor's stardom was good for the UFC and also bad for the UFC. He put the MMA world mainstream, especially with the UFC, but he also kind of ruined the UFC to some degree because he started chasing money fights, and then he started stalling the division. He didn't fight the consistent contender to show how great he was, and there were certain opponents I felt like he was ducking and dodging. And then on top of that, he really stalled the division furthermore by going on a 2-year hiatus to go fight Floyd Mayweather. While I don't begrudge him that, go get your money. And that was a historic, monumental moment where it was been almost a second time in history where we saw an MMA fighter fight a boxer of high level, two high level profile fighters fighting in the ring, where Conor McGregor faced off against Floyd Mayweather. I watched that event. It was epic. It was entertaining. And the build-up for the fight was entertaining as well, where we never seen the likes of it, and we probably might not see it for a while now. But again, I want to reiterate that Conor McGregor rise to stardom did propel him past the UFC. It made him bigger than the UFC. And then when he came back to the UFC and went on a bit of a losing streak, it kind of took the sparkle off him. So I'm not sure what's next for his career moving forward. I do see him fighting a couple more times. I don't see him winning a championship. I just don't think he's that level of fighter anymore to compete at a high level, to not only win the championship, but defend the championship at a high level. I don't think he has that drive no more. I think he made enough money where he's comfortable, where he doesn't have that hunger and drive that he did in 2014 and 15. And, that's okay. You get older, you're not the same anymore. You live a luxurious lifestyle. You're eating, the most expensive foods. You're not that hungry, or you're not living in poverty or anything like that to push you to propel you in a better situation. And he's in a better situation right now. So I wish him the best of luck in all his endeavors. But yeah, to answer the question, yes, he was the biggest star in the UFC. He was bigger than the UFC. Will we see another fighter in terms of Conor McGregor again? Maybe, maybe not. But around the 2010s, the most entertaining fighter of that decade was, I could honestly say, was Conor McGregor number 1, Ronda Rousey number 2, and you could possibly throw in Izzy Adesanya, but I feel like Izzy Adesanya's prime is going to hit him around 2020 for him to dominate and go on a long title run, if he's fortunate enough to do that. But you could also throw in Jon Jones there, but Jon Jones has a lot of bad out of the octagon actions to where he might not be there. But I personally put him there, but that's just my personal opinion on that as regards to superstardom and where they are, because Jon Jones became a superstar back in 2011 when he first won his UFC light heavyweight championship, but he never was on the mainstream stardom as Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey was. But those are my thoughts and opinions on the matter. Let me know yours down in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know down in the comment section. This is Ito Speaks out.
Coming in, yeah, flex. I just wanna win, yeah. LA BB, who we running with?